That night, the sky above Huyan Mac City was stained, a deep crimson like blood. A thunderous explosion tore through the air, as the main hall of the Mac clan collapsed beneath the shockwaves of three martial emperors locked in battle. Chunks of stone walls shattered and rained down. In the blink of an eye, a century-old family legacy was reduced to a battlefield. The clan's descendants fled in panic, none daring to look up at the blood-soaked sky roiling overhead. High in the air, Mac Duke raised a dark crimson command medallion engraved with demonic sigils. From this day forward I am a member of the Netherworld Divine Temple. Who dares lay a hand on me? His voice echoed across the entire estate. Below clan leader Mac Chan's son trembled with fury. He could not believe the person standing before him was his own son, the one he had once placed all his hopes upon. You betrayed the clan. Teen Duke let out a cold laugh. Betrayal, no. I simply chose the stronger path. At that very moment, two figures in blood-red robes stepped out of the void. A crimson mist spread, killing intent, engulfing the entire Mac clan. No one knew that deep within the treasury beneath the estate, a young boy was slowly opening his eyes. And when he stepped out, the course of that night would be forever changed. Tonight's catastrophe was no accident. 3 days earlier, during an expedition into the 10,000 Bones ancient tomb, the second patriarch Mac Van Track had uncovered a shocking treasure, the 9th-grade profound seal. Legend claimed it once belonged to the Netherworld Divine Temple, lost a century ago. By the unspoken accord among the powers of the Eastern Domain, any artifact recovered from the 10,000 Bones tomb was to be given priority to the Netherworld Divine Temple for handling. But the human heart is impossible to predict. Van Track was unwilling to hand it over. He believed that if the Mac clan possessed the profound seal, the family would ascend to an entirely new level, breaking free from dependence on the great sects. He secretly brought the treasure back and locked it deep within the clan treasury, sealing off all news of its discovery. Unbeknownst to him, that very silence was betrayed from within. Mac Duke, driven by his hunger for power and status, had secretly contacted the Netherworld Divine Temple. He offered the profound seal as a bargaining chip in exchange for becoming an inner disciple, and so the blood-robed figures arrived tonight. Officially, they came to reclaim a lost artifact. In truth, they came to force the Mac clan into submission or face extermination. Only now did clan leader Mac Chan's son understand. This battle was never just about a mystical weapon. It was a reckoning between ambition and loyalty, waged within the very bloodline of the Mac clan itself. As the blood mist of the Netherworld Divine Temple flooded the main courtyard, Mac Chan's son was forced back by two protectors until he coughed up blood. Mac Van Track, gravely wounded, collapsed before the entrance of the treasury vault. The situation had reached its breaking point. Hand over the profound seal. Otherwise, the Mac clan will be wiped out tonight, a blood-robed protector declared coldly. The treasury doors trembled violently. Just when everyone believed the protective formation was about to shatter, the massive stone doors slowly opened from the inside. A young boy stepped out through the drifting dust. His gaze was calm, eerily out of place amid the chaos of the battlefield. Behind him, the treasury stood empty. Are you looking for this? He casually turned his wrist, and a faint arc of lightning flickered into existence. The two 9-star martial venerable protectors exchanged a glance and struck first without hesitation. Blood-red palm strikes tore through the air, aimed straight at the boy. But in the blink of an eye, lightning descended like heavenly judgment. A thunderous explosion roared. The blood mist was torn apart. The two powerful experts were blasted backward through the sky. The entire Mac clan stood frozen in shock. The young boy Lei Hao tilted his head slightly and looked toward Mac Duke. The Netherworld Divine Temple. Where is it? From this moment on, the battle no longer belonged to the Mac clan. It had become the journey of one man, a man who dared to walk straight into the heart of a demonic stronghold. After defeating the two protectors, Lei Hao did not pause for even a moment. Before the horrified eyes of the entire Mac clan, he grabbed Mac Duke by the collar and forced him to lead the way to the Netherworld Divine Temple. You want to earn merit, then take me straight to their gates. His tone was calm, yet it allowed no refusal. Less than half a day later, the 10,000 Bones mountain range loomed before them, dark and desolate, the seat of the Netherworld Divine Temple. Blood energy drifted between the peaks like an everlasting mist, sending a chill down one's spine before even stepping inside. The instant Duke crossed the sect's boundary, crimson runes flared across the ground. The Grand Mountain Guarding formation activated. A scream tore through the air. Blood energy surged upward from the earth, piercing through his body. In just a few breaths, his flesh and blood were completely drained, leaving behind a dry skeleton that collapsed before the temple gates. Lei Hao stood silently watching. He had not made a move. The sect itself had punished a traitor who no longer held value. In the distance, warning bells tolled in deep resounding waves. Powerful auras erupted one after another from within the Grand Hall. Only then did Lei Hao fully understand. This was no longer a small pursuit. He was facing an entire force that ruled the Eastern Domain. Yet instead of retreating, the corner of his lips lifted slightly. Perfect. Before the warning bells had even finished tolling, the sky above the netherworld divine temple completely changed color. A massive blood banner unfurled in midair, waves of blood energy surging outward like a rising tide. In an instant, everything within a 100-yard radius of Lei Hao was swallowed by a thick, oppressive blood domain so heavy the air itself seemed frozen solid. From the steps of the Grand Hall, a man in crimson robes slowly descended. Duan Wuya, Blood, Lord of the Netherworld Divine Temple. His gaze was glacial, as if already looking at a corpse. "You killed my protectors, and still dare trespass into my mountain gate." His voice echoed outward, and the entire sea of blood roared in response. The moment Lei Hao circulated his lightning energy, he felt the vital essence within his body being suppressed. Blood energy seeped into him through every pore, carrying a virulent toxin that corroded his meridians. The mountain guarding grand formation sealed shut from all sides, cutting off every path of retreat. Alone, standing amid a sea of blood, surrounded by dozens of elders hovering in the sky, Duan Wuya raised his hand. The blood sea condensed into a colossal palm, crashing down with overwhelming force. For the first time since stepping out of the Mac Clan treasury, Lei Hao felt the true weight of life and death pressing upon him. He was no longer facing a handful of scattered experts. He was confronting an entire sect, and the full depth of its foundation. The massive blood palm came crashing down. The lightning that had just gathered around Lei Hao's body was instantly shattered into fragments. He was driven straight into the ground, the stone beneath him splintering into a web of cracks. The blood domain tightened. Poison seeped through the surging crimson tide into his meridians, waves of burning agony spreading like a smoldering fire from within. His once violent lightning energy was now suppressed, its circulation sluggish and obstructed. Above him, the mountain guarding grand formation sealed completely the sky, reduced to a suffocating expanse of red. Duan Wuya hovered in midair, his voice cold and detached. "You think a mere trace of lightning is enough to stand against an entire sect?" Dozens of elders formed hand seals in unison. The blood sea surged higher, transforming into chains that coiled tightly around Lei Hao's limbs. Each time he struggled, the blood poison burrowed deeper into his body. The heaven and earth breathing soil had yet to appear. Every path of retreat was sealed. His body was beginning to slip from his control. For a fleeting moment, it seemed every possible choice had been severed. Amid the boundless sea of blood, Lei Hao dropped to one knee, his breathing heavy. Duan Wuya's gaze descended like a final verdict. It seemed everything would end here. Amid the surging sea of blood, as the crimson chains tightened around every inch of his flesh, Lei Hao suddenly stopped struggling. He closed his eyes. No resistance. No struggle. In that moment when it seemed like surrender, he realized the problem was not the power of the blood domain. It was the way he had been using his lightning. Until now, the lightning in his hands had always been a tool of destruction. To shatter, to crush, to annihilate. But lightning was the judgment of heaven. Heaven's judgment did not descend merely to destroy, it descended to purify. The instant that understanding took shape deep within his dantian, the suppressed lightning essence trembled. No longer wild and scattered, it began to contract, condensing into a single point of pure radiance. The blood poison corroding his meridians touched this new current of lightning, and was instantly burned into black smoke. Lei Hao opened his eyes. Within his pupils there was no longer chaotic flashes of lightning, but a still brilliance like the sky before a storm breaks. A completely different aura erupted from him. Cracks spread across the blood-forged chains. For the first time, Duan Wuya's expression changed. Lei Hao slowly rose to his feet within the sea of blood. "You use blood to devour heaven and earth. Then I will use lightning to return it to the heavens." The moment his words fell, the lightning around Lei Hao erupted. No longer chaotic streaks of destruction, but a fully formed lightning domain, pure and solemn like the descent of heaven's will. Bolts of lightning fell with absolute precision like divine judgment, tearing apart the blood domain that smothered the sky. The sea of blood boiled, then evaporated in massive swaths. Duan Wuya roared, driving the blood banner with all his might. Yet the lightning pierced through layer after layer of blood energy and struck directly at the core of the formation. The mountain-guarding grand array trembled violently. Then, a world-shaking explosion thundered across the range. Half of the grand hall collapsed. Elders of the Netherworld Divine Temple were blasted away one after another, their blood energy scattering into nothingness. Gravely wounded Duan Wuya transformed into a streak of red light and fled deep into the inner sanctum. Lei Hao did not pursue. He stepped into the smoking ruins, passed through layers of fractured restraints, and finally stopped before a hidden chamber beneath the earth. There, a mass of ash-gray soil radiated an aura as heavy as mountains. Heaven and earth breathing soil. He claimed the treasure, then turned to look at the sect in chaos behind him. This was only the beginning. If a sect dared to use blood to rule the world, then heaven's lightning would have to fall upon many more.